And we are taping.
We're taping. Hello and welcome to Relationship Rehab.
That's right. I like the magic aspect of it.
Well, we don't have a freaking theme song. So
yeah, we do. We need to come up with a theme song to go into Relationship Rehab.
I don't know.
But welcome.
Hello.
And yes, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, definitely. So, what's going on?
Oh, just looking at people coming online.
If you pick everyone can chat.
Oh, tell me what to do.
I cannot read these things because then I won't ever look up into the camera.
Is it in the...
Okay. Let him do his techie thing and I shall start talking, right?
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Yes.
Today we're talking about getting happy. Making happiness a habit. What's happiness about? Why the hell is Relationship Rehab talking about happiness? Yes?
Yes.
Why? Because as human beings, okay, happiness is definitely an individual thing. However, how we express our happiness, our language of happy, is usually relational. It's something that we express in relation to other things. So I know, very heady, very whatever, but the whole point is, being happy in relationship. And remember, we're in a relationship with everybody. With ourselves, with the world, with the environment, with our spouses, with our kids, parents, siblings, friends, everybody. Your frickin' mailman, everybody you're in a relationship with. And you could decide whether or not you're going to do that as a happy person or as a miserable suck. I mean, whatever you want to do.
Right. Nice start.
Those are your two choices.
And we're done. Thank you.
Or happy.
Make the choice.
There you go. See you next week.
That's right.
Okay. So let's start by defining happiness. And now, you might think that this is a pretty damn easy thing to do, but I want you, after the show only, not now, or unless you could, minimize this or, whatever. Google happy.
Yeah.
And start trying to read some definitions on happiness. And let me tell you, there aren't many. And the definition of happiness is really, what would you say? Weak, to say the least.
Weak.
We tried. We most of us talk about, I want to be happy, but nobody defines it. That with a clear definition that isn't either extrinsically based, in other words, that all your happiness comes from the outside of you, or some sort of magical thing happens to you. So.
Matter of fact, that's the reason why we were talking about happiness.
Yeah.
Is I'm considering this the first episode of our happiness series.
Yes.
Okay. So it makes sense that somewhere along the line we should say what happiness is.
Yeah.
If we're sitting there going, okay, we're going to strive for it, and we're going to become happy and all that kind of stuff,
And make a habit of it.
What is it we're talking about?
Yeah.
So in looking up a definition for it, we found out how really sucky the definitions are.
They're really, even like the Merriam-Webster, the Webster's Dictionary that we all grew up with can't define happy. I'm sorry, getting text messages. Where's theirs? Oh, I even took it down because it was so stupid. Where are they? Here we go. First thing they say is happiness defined as favored by luck or fortune. Well, then, so basically your happiness comes from outside of you, and it has to be some magical being, perhaps God or a leprechaun or, a fairy or an angel or whatever your belief system is, comes and sprinkles you with fairy dust or favors you, blesses you, and boom, you're a happy person.
Right.
Or you're a lucky person. Lucky people are only happy people. Right.
Yeah,
which kind of sucks. It's like, and we keep saying sucks because it's like, I can't think of a better word to put on this one. We think in society, it's like a lot of the stuff. We like to think that we're individuals. We like to think that that our beliefs are our own. We like to think that we were created, spontaneously generated out of nothing, and that everything that we have is original, which isn't true, unfortunately. And most of our content of our brain and most of our belief systems have been created over the years and over the centuries by our culture. Okay? And these things are so ingrained in us and so part of our cellular memory that it's really hard to take it out. Okay? And one of them is how we define certain concepts, certain feelings, certain ways of being. Okay? So when we talk about feelings, most of our feelings have been defined, over the last, couple thousand years. We know as a people, as the human race, that being sad is a bad thing. Okay?
That's what we're
Sadness is bad.
Mm-hmm.
We know that because that's what we're taught.
Right.
That's how people react to it. Ladies, you cry, you shed one tear, what happens? Everybody rushes to get you a Kleenex.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you could stop now. You're crying. How many people and how many times in your life have you started crying and someone said, okay, go ahead, cry it out? You could probably count it on one hand, right, unless you've been in therapy. And then, your therapist shouldn't be telling you to stop it. But
yeah. If they're saying suck it up, then get a different therapist.
There's a big problem there. But, okay, so where was I? Okay, so that's the definition of sad. I mean, that's how we react to sad. Now,
right,
happy is in the same genre. We talk about being happy as something fleeting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Happiness is something that is brought about by luck. Right. Happiness,
it is not under your control.
No. Happiness happens and goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is not something we could really count on in this life, because you know what? Life is hard.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to worry.
Yeah, you need to worry. That's my dad. That's my dad. My dad actually had this conversation with me years and years ago, and I was 20 something, and I was telling him, no, I'm not going to worry about that because there's no point in it. In fact, Dalai Lama. Mm-hmm. We saw the Dalai Lama on Tuesday.
He's cool. We like the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
If I could keep him in the house, and I would.
Probably put him in a corner. He's small.
Yeah.
But one of the things he said was that from one of the monks. Was it a monk? No, it was one of the past Dalai Lamas. Because this is the 14th one that we have right now.
Which part?
So,
which
the part
one,
where he said, he goes, because they asked him, how do you deal with the problems of life? And
actually, I think that was the master with the capital T, capital
Oh,
M.
okay. So the master. So he was quoting the Buddha?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he was quoting the Vajrayana, I think.
Okay.
Is that what?
I don't think it was, but that's okay.
Anyhow,
probably. He said, if a problem has a solution, that there's no need to worry. And if a problem doesn't have a solution, then there's no point in worrying.
Right.
And God, I love that. That was just like this. I was right all along. Yay. So anyway, my dad was like, no, if you're not worrying, then you can't figure something out. Okay?
Right.
So in other words, there you already get an idea of what his definition of what happiness would be. Mm-hmm. So once he solves a problem, he could be happy for a split second, and then the next problem comes out.
Right.
And so...
Now, notice. See, these are already with the cultural part. Happiness is fortune. Okay? Out of your control, according to our culture. Okay? Luck. Whereas worry is in your control. If you look at worry, that's the thing that you can deal with. You grab worry and you can hang on to it because it's there.
Remember what worrying really means. Worrying means to wear something out.
Right.
That is to worry something. We've taken the concept of worrying and created an emotional content to it. But to worry something is actually a physical act of wearing it down.
Right.
And if you think about it, that's what you're doing to yourself emotionally when you worry. Mm-hmm. But how do we define happiness?
Okay.
What are the concepts that we look at when it comes to happiness? Hello. What's going on here? Anyway, there's a certain aspect of pleasure in happiness. You feel pretty good. And pleasure, when I'm talking about, is just feeling good. I'm not talking necessarily about sex,
Right.
but hey, that works too.
Mhm.
You know, you could be happy after sex. I tend to be.
Yes.
I tend to be. So,
I always am.
so there's a pleasure aspect to sex. I mean, to sex. To happy.
To happiness.
Focus. Wow. There's, okay, and once again, the sex thing. There's a certain satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely pleasure aspect. Okay. Satisfaction. Once again, the whole sex thing comes up. But no, being satisfied. Okay. And now I want to make it really clear. Satisfaction is not contentment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Those are two very separate
Contentment
things.
for me is the C word, not the other C word. I don't mind saying that C word, but I'm not going to say it on this unless somebody really pushes me. But, you know, contentment pisses me off more than anything else, because we right now in our society, people believe that the most that they can get out of life is being content.
Right.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I say bullshit to that.
Right.
So satisfaction, if you think of a satisfaction, that is, I have what I need. I am completely sated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's nice. That's different than being content.
Right.
And most importantly, happiness is an intrinsic thing.
Yes.
Happiness is a choice that you make, and it's inside of you. It is not thing specific.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh.
Actually, one of the definitions, because we started looking at definitions, and we were just like so flabbergasted at how messed up definitions are. With your Webster definition, if you're not lucky, the second definition is that something happened to you, or there was something given to you that made you happy.
Again,
Outside of you. Okay? So in other words, until you got that thing,
Mm-hmm.
or until you know, until you were blessed by this object,
Mm-hmm.
you weren't happy.
Right. As you listen to us, I mean, today and probably going even, you know, into other shows, we will talk a lot about the difference between being and doing. That is a major kind of philosophy in our life, and the therapies that we've done, you know, like been part of, and the therapies that you do with people. You can't do anything.
You can't do happy.
You can't do happy. You can only be happy. It's intrinsic. It's inside you. It is a state
It's a
of
way.
being.
Yeah, it's a way of being. You know, it's not an action.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not.
You don't earn it.
Yeah. You know, it's a choice.
Right.
It's like you choose to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a way, when I'm talking about creating a habit of it, it is a constant choice to be happy.
Right.
You know, this is so important. Okay, so when we talk about the difference between, and we talk about contentment versus happiness, okay? Happiness, like we say, is a way of being. Happiness is a choice. Happiness is present.
Okay. I'm cutting and pasting. Don't worry
It's
about
not something that happens in the future. It's not happen. Okay, he completely turned off the little screen thing there.
Just
I
keep
know,
talking.
but it just freaks me out when he does that. Happiness is not something that happens in the. Happiness. Okay, this is how we think happiness is. When I was the day I got married was the happiest day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, haha, not true, but that's what people say. So in other words, not today is happy. Way back when is happy. When I don't know. When I get my book published, I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
When my 3 kids are done with school, I'll be happy. When I retire, I'll be happy.
Could be true.
I'm not waiting for them to graduate from school.
Go ahead. Sorry.
As soon as they can read and write,
That's
they're
it.
gone.
Right. Get a job.
Good job. Yeah, right. Yeah, they saw me boo-hooing about our daughter in college. Yeah, that's not going to work. I can't put that shit back in the can, dude. No, they know. I'm not that hard ass. Anyway.
Actually, do we want to the whole idea of, the day I got married was the happiest day of my life. Think about that one.
How miserable that was.
That's really, really a screwed up sentence. Anytime that you say that something in the past was the happiest that you're ever going to get, talk about being doomed to unhappiness. That's just really...
But God forbid, ladies, if you said that your wedding wasn't the happiest day of your life, or the day that your children were born was the happiest day of your life. Because let's be honest, okay? And Paul and I were discussing this, because this is what we do. And was my wedding day happy? Yes, it was. Mm-hmm. Definitely not the happiest day of my life.
No.
Not even close.
No.
Was the moment that I gave birth to my children, all three of them, was that happiest day of my life? No. It was good.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't the happiest day of my life. I mean, I like to believe that I haven't had the happiest day of my life. But here's how I see it. It's like, we have these expectations, okay? Society, once again, tells us that the day that your kids are born, your wedding day, those are the happiest days of your life. And don't ever ask for anything else, okay? And it rightly so, because, of course, what goes into a wedding? Well, months and months of preparation, tearing your hair out, worry, planning, freaking out. In my case, I freaked out big time, like about a month and a half before.
Oh, yeah. Full breakdown.
Full breakdown. Yeah, lots of boohooing. And it wasn't about getting married. Mm-hmm. It was just putting on a big party. I mean, I had no problem getting married. But it was just, making sure that the whole party worked out perfectly, Yeah. So, and then, of course, when you're pregnant, it's that 9-10 months of preparing yourself for this event, and oh my God, and how exciting, and the anticipation and the expectations placed on that moment when you meet and come eye to eye with this baby that you've been making, that you haven't eaten tuna fish in 10 months just because you don't want to hurt the baby, and you haven't had a drink or a cigarette or anything else, waiting for this baby because you want perfection and wow, and you do everything possible. Well, it's not a wonder that women have postpartum depression. Mm-hmm. It's not a wonder that newlyweds fight, okay? Because the momentary, and I say it like that, the momentary euphoria, not even happiness, euphoria of the moments of getting married. And most people aren't even present the moment they're getting married because they're so in shock and so many things are going through their head. Or the moment that you have your child and that euphoria that, oh my God, especially if you give birth, like naturally, and, and the pain subsides and you're like, oh, thank God for that. But, I could speak to that. But, it's like, oh, wow, you see your baby. Wow. How happy. Yay. And then what? Then comes the day-to-day grind of taking care of baby.
Right.
And that magic, that euphoria that you felt, that, in the first day, few hours or days after the baby's born, kind of melts away, and all that build-up and expectation that took you to that day is like, okay, that's it? All that energy that you've had pent up, And so it's not a wonder that a good chunk of women have postpartum depression, because it's like this, there was a letdown. There's a letdown after your wedding. There's a letdown after you have a child. And this is an emotional thing. And this is not about, oh, you don't love your baby. This is about how you prepare yourself emotionally for something so big in your life, such a big change in your life. That it's not a wonder. I mean, it's like, in the case of having a baby, you have, the rush of hormones and then the sudden drop of hormone. And then you also have this emotional stuff where the rush of expectation and then the drop of expectation. And when those two hit, what happens? You get depressed. Because you see, there's a lot of people walking around this earth, and this is what we don't understand. Because before we were talking about, okay, in the 60s and 70s, we talked about people being depressed, and that was just a question of being sad, having complications because of grief. And we didn't understand that, neurochemicals played a part in it. Then as soon as we understood neurochemicals played a part in it, then it all became about neurochemicals. Forget about how sad you felt. Forget about, grief or whatever, anything like that. Then it was just about neurochemicals. So we better medicate that. And then we realized after a lot of studies that the best treatment for somebody who's depressed is talk therapy and medication. Because we know that there's a certain amount of emotional sadness, and then there is the depression within the brain because of a lack of serotonin and varying levels of dopamine. We know that. Now, when you throw into the mix that you are hormonally off kilter, that the hormones have messed up your neurotransmitters, and you had such high expectations that are just gone, then you're talking about a really almost a deadly combination of depression. So why am I saying this? What I'm saying is that there are people walking around this earth that have messed up neurochemicals that by neurochemicals alone should be depressed, but they're not.
Right.
Because their emotional state, their attitude, their way of being is that of happiness.
Right. There was a lot of this actually as we were doing some of the research. For me, I found kind of scary. First, just something you need to know is, we're kind of culturally skewed to the negative because they did a literature review of American Psychiatric Association articles, and there was about 100,000 of them that dealt with sadness, depression, things dealing with sadness, so depression, anxiety, and anger. Whereas there was about 2,000 that talked about happiness. This is the direction,
Right.
We look at.
We don't even bother looking up. I mean, scientists don't even look at happy because it's like, oh, you're happy, you're fine.
Right.
Instead of going, wait, how did you get there?
Then one of the other things that...
It's the difference between studying sicknesses or investing in wellness.
Exactly, right, yeah. And so a lot of this actually kind of scared me a bit because almost a wake-up call, because it is the wellness aspect of this that we're talking about. It's you need to learn how to be happy now, because later on in life it's harder.
Yeah.
And I'm going from research. I'm going from as Lee was talking about, brain chemicals are going to change on you. So you need to make up, the lack of brain chemicals need to be made up with that emotional attitude, right?
Yeah.
There was another,
life in general. Okay.
Right.
Think of it, life in general. I mean, it's like, we were talking last night, it's like, if you are in your 40s or approaching your 40s, this is when you have to learn how to be happy.
Right.
You have to. There is no more of a, I'll be happy when. You have to learn how to be happy now. And why? Because we are entering a time in our life where things are going to change pretty damn radically. If you're a parent, your kids are growing up and getting out of the house. We're going through that. If you are a person of relationship, which we are, the people in your life are going to start getting sick and dying. Whether it be your friends, which we've gone through, your parents, your family, all these things. These are all eventualities. These are going to happen. And as I found out last Sunday, you'll start going through changes. Yeah, I'm being honest. What the hell?
Go ahead, share that one.
Last Sunday, I had my first hot flash. And so...
She wasn't happy.
I wasn't happy about it. Not at all happy.
No, more surprised.
I was freaked the fuck out. I was, oh my God. What the hell's happening to me? Last Sunday also happened to be my sister's 50th birthday. Which I thought, well, how apropos for that. Now that I'll never forget when I had my first one. And I think it was also karma because, you know, the night before we had had a surprise party for her. And I talked a lot of shit about her.
Oh, of course.
I kept, you know.
About her getting old, being
she's
old.
50,
Yeah,
you know.
Right.
And then, of course, the next day, I had a hot flash.
Yeah.
So, at first, you know, I mean, my initial reaction was, oh my God. And the fear. There were brief thoughts of, oh my God, changing, getting older, not being able to have kids anymore, which I can't anymore because I had the ablation years ago.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You still have these stupid ass thoughts. Yeah.
Because, I've dealt with that. I'm neutered.
No, he's not neutered. He's just... Anyway. But the point is, the changes. Okay? And so this concept of learning to be happy and making this a habit, a way of being, is so incredibly important.
Now, let me pointing out some more researchy stuff. Because since I spent time researching it, I gotta share. You know, there's basically the researchers talk about what they call a set point. Basically, your basic level of happiness, wherever you're at. Some things will fluctuate you up and down. They could be major things, but there's still a fluctuation. Like somebody in your life dying. You know, a friend dying is actually just a fluctuation in your happiness, and people have a tendency to go back to their set point. Two of the major things that non-money things that change your overall happiness, like long term, is I'm
sorry. Hi, Mama.
Is health.
Yeah.
And marital status. Those are the two biggies. So as health declines, people become permanently less happy.
Right.
You know, unless of course they have the habit of being happy.
Yeah.
You know, and same thing with marital status, which is of course one of the reasons why we do this on relationship rehab.
Right, and it's very annoying because I want you to think about it. When people ask you, how are you? You know, how often do you say happy? By the way, hi, Mama RN. How are you? Cougar Mama, Mama RN. Make relationship. Hey, Ron.
How often do you say happy?
How often do you say that you're happy?
That's right.
You know, what do we say when people, hey, how are you? We say, fine.
Right.
Or good. But do we ever say, hey, we're great or we're happy?
Yeah.
We don't say that because there's a certain stigma attached to it.
Nowadays, some people say blessed.
Oh yeah,
which is interesting because
that's close to
that's
happy.
at least closer.
Yeah, but then again, once again, we're talking about if you're blessed, that's coming from outside of you.
It's external.
Yeah, and most people who say that. Now, of course, if you're into the Eastern philosophies and we talk about our inner divinity and things like that, then you can talk self-blessing. But most people who are saying blessed aren't talking about that.
No.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the fallacies about happiness, and these are the things that we live with every single day. You can't be happy all the time.
Right.
You just can't.
That is
according to the world.
That's
and then
right.
anybody's happy all the time is what? A fool.
Right.
Is a happy fool.
Right.
And this is, I mean, if you go through literature, the what is it? Jesus. The town. Is it
the fool?
The fool.
Yeah. Right.
You see them sitting on a wall. Not probably they're mentally unstable and or, intellectually challenged, but they're sitting on a wall laughing and happy.
Right.
And they called them the fool.
Right. Sorry, Rami 88, we don't
do that.
Yeah, only if you're a scheduled guest.
Yeah. Or if our producer allows that. Thank you. Let's see. You can't be happy while grieving. Okay? One of the things that the Dalai Lama talked about on Tuesday that was so important is that to maintain a life of happiness, a life of compassion, a life of fulfillment, that we had to be able to find the happiness and the good things in everything. And one of the several years ago, and we've talked about this a lot, either when we're doing our therapy stuff or when we've written on our blog, coupledom.com. We talked about several years ago, our best friend died.
Right.
Suddenly, very suddenly. It was like, boom, dead. And she was a very large part of our life. I mean, she was my best friend. She was his best friend. Now, obviously, outside of our relationship, that kind of thing. She was our daughter's best friend. And our son, who was not even 2, considered her. Right. I mean, she was a very special person.
Definitely
my parents adored her.
Part of our life.
My parents adored her. My siblings adored her. Yeah. It was like one of those, she was such an incredible part of our life. And from one day to the next, she was gone. And didn't have a lot of time to, prepare yourself or anything like that. It was just one of those sudden, extremely shocking, she's dead. And one of the blessings, I will say, one of the beautiful parts that we got from her death was the fact that we were able to appreciate our friends.
Yep.
Our new friends.
Our new friends, yes. And oddly enough, because of it, we made a lot of new friends.
Yeah. And we were open to that.
Right.
So the happy part of Susie's death was making new friends. And, to say that to most people, to say that you found happiness in her death, is not very well received. Right. It's considered bad form.
Right.
To celebrate a person, even though we say things like, "Oh no, we're going to celebrate their life." Let's celebrate their death too, because with their death comes something beautiful.
Celebrating is one thing, but to be happy and grieving.
And notice how when we say celebrate, that means just drink. Okay,
yeah, right.
I mean, we're not really celebrating; we're just drinking our pain away.
Right.
So I'm talking about really just being happy.
Now, from a brain science point of view, actually they did the PET scans on brains. Sadness is not the opposite of happiness. They light up 2 different parts of the brain. So you can be happy and have that part of your brain lit up, and simultaneously sad and have that part lit up. They're not necessarily, it's not like one is that sadness is just happiness turned off. No, they're completely different. So from a brain point of view, you can do both.
Right.
Go ahead.
So I'm looking at the guy that wanted to make us happy. That's so nice of him.
Yes.
But I create my own happiness. I don't need to watch a guy named Rami to make me happy. It would have been amusing.
Right.
But not necessarily happy making.
Right.
Okay, let's get that straight. Okay, here's a good one. Happy people have no problems.
Right. We were talking about Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Now, watch yourself.
I'm being good. Okay.
He's been warned.
Yes, I've been warned. If you look at the movie Forrest Gump, this is the movie. This is like the happy movie. Main character is it probably has a low IQ. Is that safer? Low IQ. Okay. Low IQ. Completely lucky. Okay. Blessed by God.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Poor things.
Yeah. All the whatever horrible things happen. God is obviously watching out. And no worries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That is
He has
the-
some worries, but
right.
you know, it doesn't.
Mhm.
It doesn't. He doesn't have to worry on them.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, what does that tell you? That intellectually challenged people are happy.
Mm-hmm.
According, I mean, people
right.
actually think that.
Uh-huh.
People actually believe that.
Yeah.
And we say things like ignorance is bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't know.
Right.
And that if you were really aware of reality, if you really knew what was going on, you couldn't be happy.
Right.
I mean, how can you be happy in a world where we have such tragedies as Haiti, and we know that, you know, there are still, you know, men fighting a war, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all these horrible Iran, well, what's going to happen with that? If we concentrate on all these things, we can create our own hell.
Right.
Easily.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people do. A lot of people think that being miserable is the right way of being.
Right.
You know, that if the world outside of us had its shit together, we could be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it doesn't, so I have to be miserable.
Right.
You
Waiting
know?
for the world to change.
Yeah.
I hate that song. Sorry.
I mean, John Mayer song.
Yeah. I find him a douche, and I really, you know, I don't like the song. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But that is. I mean, but if you think about it, we're waiting for the world to change. That is the miserable man mantra.
Right.
Okay? That is the common man mantra. That once the world gets its act together, I will be happier. If my political candidate is the president, I would be happier. If they would get their head out of their ass and pass, you know, healthcare reform, I could be happier.
Right.
If I wouldn't have to pay so much tax, I'd be happier. If I could finally get my tax returns back, I'd be happier. All these, I mean, we put so many ifs. I'm sorry. My sister tends to forget that I'm busy from 12 to 12 to 1 on Fridays. This is the only time she decides to call me.
So yes,
and I'm going to text her and shame her at the same time.
Yeah.
On the air now.
See, the world will never get its act together, so we're going to be miserable for a long time if we don't choose to be happy despite that. Exactly. I mean, that's.
But that's how. I mean, if we count on our kids to make us happy, those of us who are mommies out there or daddies, then we are going to be really disappointed. Okay. It's kind of like counting on your kid to take care of you when you're older. I mean, do you really want to do that to your kid? I mean, it's like I have parents. The thought of taking care of them is like frightening to me. You know, I'm watching my mom take care of her mom, and it's the most depressing thing in the world.
Yeah, and not only will like I don't want my kids taking care of me.
Oh, hell no. Especially with all the things you've done to them.
Oh yeah, no, this is going to be bad.
That karma would be ugly.
Yeah, the karma's going to be ugly.
Karma would be super ugly.
Yes, I would actually like to be in a home that has windows.
Yeah.
You know?
And an actual bathroom.
An actual bathroom.
Not a bucket or something like that.
So, where are we with happiness?
No, we're talking about how we see it. Okay, what's going on? Oh, how nice. My son promises to give me a Viking for maybe he might wait till I'm dead.
Yes.
You know, that's good. That is really good.
Yeah, remember that one.
Yeah. I mean, luckily for us right now, I think that actually we had a friend of ours passed away in December. She was young. She was only like 38.
Yeah.
And she has 3 kids and
just had a baby.
I had just had a baby like in May, so it was a very tragic thing. But you know, now our kids see that mommies can die. So at this point, you know, I've got like a pass for a while, you know, and they don't make any nasty little comments about me, but Dad's free.
That's right.
Dad's, you know, open. I mean, Jeannie would give you a Viking funeral.
Oh, yeah.
Her daughter.
Oh, yeah. She'd just throw gasoline on me and go
She'd
for it.
give you a Buddhist monk funeral right now.
Yeah.
I like your son. We should meet him. This sounds fun. That's my. Oh no. I mean, Anyway, I mean, the idea of like, you know, expecting your kids to make you happy. Like, you know, we watched what we were watching last night, Couples Retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish we would have watched it when it first came out. But, you know, one of the things that we're doing as parents that is really messed up is that we're really sidetracking our own lives to create this fantasy life and wonderful life for our kids and overscheduling our kids. And all of these things we've talked about on our blog, overscheduling kids and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, that you have no life of your own because you're too busy picking one up, dropping one off at soccer, dropping one off at dance, dropping one off at karate, dropping one off. And then basically you're a taxi service.
Right.
And if you read all the mommy blogs out there, a lot of it is about that. About, I had to take Tristan to, you know, to his art class and pick up Selena to go to, you know, to her, you know, basket weaving class. And it's like, you know, all of this with the anticipation that you are creating this incredible life for your children, thus they will be happy, thus that happiness will infuse on you.
Right.
And no, I don't think that it's going to happen.
Mm.
I think that what we end up doing is making ourselves miserable, making ourselves resentful because we don't get to do what we want to do. And it doesn't matter how much of a Mother Teresa, you know, you are on this one. And, you know, take the male form of that because men, you know, daddies do it too.
Right, yeah.
We need to make ourselves happy. We need to do the things that keep us happy. And, you know, it's like you could say that you enjoy shuttling your child everywhere. But unless you do something for yourself, unless you create your own happiness, you know, where do you reside on this priority scale? You know, if your priority is your kid and their happiness and making sure that they get all of these incredible things to do, which I will sideline and say you're doing way too much. Okay. Kids are overscheduled, overbooked, overstressed. This is why kids are doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yes.
Okay?
Play.
Yeah, go out and play.
Right.
You know, entertain yourself. You know, remember the old days? You know, before video games. You know, and I don't know how old some of you are, but before Atari and everything else and ColecoVision, we used to play.
Right. And there were books.
And there were books to read.
Yeah.
You know, and luckily all the books are coming back, which is great. You know, thank you, J.K. Rowling. But with kids nowadays, unless you give them something to do, they can't entertain themselves.
Right, they can't initiate it.
They don't initiate play. You know, it's like we have to create play dates because we need to, you know, structure their play. You know, and all of these things speak to our happiness. You know, it's like structuring a child's play. What are you teaching them? You're teaching them that enjoyment is something that is, you know, boxed.
Right.
You know, in a certain time frame. And it's something you schedule.
Right. Happens between 3:30 and 4 on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right. And, you know, it's only on schedule and it's only when you go to this event.
Right.
It's kind of like when you schedule sex. You know, and in many cases we talk, you know, it's like if you're really busy, it's an important thing to do. But if, you know, Wednesdays at 11 o'clock, that's the only time you can do it, we have a problem.
Right.
We definitely have a problem.
So, then the question is, what are good habits for happiness? What are happy habits?
Oh.
I think we have a child about to walk over here.
Yeah.
So, what are happy habits? Are you able? I'm going to go walk
No,
him.
I'm just looking at his face. Hi.
Hey, dude.
You awake?
I
Uh-oh.
don't think you're awake. Come here. Oh.
He's not awake.
I need to lay in my bed.
Yeah. See, that makes him happy. Oh, and he's patting his daddy on the back. How cute. He's so yummy. Anyway, that's our 3-year-old, by the way. Anyway, so happy habits. Number 1, remembering to be happy. If you need to write yourself a note, Post-its, lovely things. Remember to be happy. Or just write the word happy. and just remembering that. You know, it's like one of the things that when we talk about being blessed or having good fortune, whatever, we talk about, you know, when you're blessed, you say, oh, I'm blessed, you know, thank God, and all that great stuff, and that gratitude. Well, and we know for a fact that having an attitude of gratitude is very important. And it's the same thing for happiness. Having an attitude of happiness is almost an automatic attitude of gratitude, because you don't mind sharing it.
Right.
You don't mind sharing you know, there's enough happy to go around. So remembering happy, remembering to be happy, remembering to find the happy things.
All right. See, I'm actually going to use the G word, God. Okay. Now,
Why do you have to make that face?
because, you know, as a...
We just saw the Dalai Lama. People don't think okay, fine. That's true. Depending on some people, they think that we don't believe in God.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
as a well-burnt Catholic, I don't
Crispy
usually...
Catholics.
Right.
We like to call ourselves crispy.
Yeah. I don't usually talk about, you know, God and, you know, focusing on God and that kind of stuff. But even when we were seeing the Dalai Lama, that is pretty much across religions one of the keys to happiness. And I do believe that it's valuable. Because what it does is it reminds, at least for me, it reminds me that there is a good purpose. It's the reminder that there are beautiful things out there. So when I'm talking about remembering God, I'm not talking about, you know, going into some long prayer thing. This is not necessarily a religious statement. This is being able to stop, center yourself, and know that there's...
Whatever your God is.
Right, whatever your God is,
yeah.
that there's divine purpose behind it. Yeah.
Even if you feel that, you know, God is within you.
Right. Yeah. Whatever it...
Yeah.
Yeah. That goes to the, you know, remembering, the acknowledging, the gratefulness.
Yes. You know, it's like, actually, the week before we saw the Dalai Lama, I saw this really cool guy. His name is Krishna Das, and he does Hindu chants, and I just love him. He's just a wonderful guy, and one of the things he talked about, and it's like, it's interesting because it's like, you know, I see him on a Tuesday, and he talks about Bhaja Govinda, which is remembering God, and then we see Dalai Lama this past Tuesday, and he talked about remembering God, that the first thing he does in the morning, he wakes up before he does anything, and he remembers God. And the second thing he does is create an intention for the day.
Right.
And this is exactly how he said it, too. It wasn't like, you know, I say a prayer, I say my mantra. He didn't say any of those things. It's like, I create my intention for the day. Right. It's like, what am I going to create today? And, you know, being a person of happiness and habit of happiness is the idea that you are creating your happiness. You are a creator of your life and your world. So to set an intention is showing how you're creating your day. And it doesn't matter what crap is going to be thrown at you out there. You know, I mean, we could look at anything. I mean, I just got an email, like, you know, not even, you know, 30 minutes before the show started, that could be taken one of 30 ways, you know? And my first reaction was shocked because I was surprised that the person actually
emailed at all.
and then, you know, it's a business thing. So then my second reaction was, okay, we'll make whatever we can out of this. Right. Honestly, I don't really, my intention is such and such, and I'm going to create such and such, and I'm not going to let anything.
I'm not going to link my happiness to
some asshole who's going to write me a letter.
Right.
You know? And that guy's not an asshole, I'm just saying, you know. But it can happen.
To the outcome of this, happy, good or bad. Right. I'm not going to link my happiness to it.
Right. Like, for example, those of us who blog out there, cynicism sustains my happiness in between.
Go ahead.
Okay. I love Chelsea lately, too. What was I going to say?
Those of us who blog out there.
Oh, those of us who blog out there.
I'm paying attention.
Yeah, when you get negative comments,
Mm-hmm.
You know, really negative comments and nasty comments and people saying mean things about you, and so what?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then to think, oh my God, someone doesn't like me. You know, honestly, some of the people who know me really well, like Ron, you know me. You know, if you were me and you had gone through 40-something years of your life with people either loving or hating you, you would be pretty damn miserable if you really went by what people said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, you know, it's like for a while, I mean, it's like I've had periods of my life where it's you know, I don't really care. And then it was, I do care.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became, I don't really care anymore. And now it doesn't affect me.
Right.
It's not that I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter
mm-hmm.
to me. Whether people like me or not.
Right.
And it's, I mean, the attitude is very different.
Mm-hmm.
There's, it's very subtle, but it's different.
Right.
You know, it's like, yes, I acknowledge that you don't like me.
Mm-hmm.
And I acknowledge that there's certain parts of me that trigger you. Okay? But in essence, it doesn't matter to who I am.
Right.
That you don't like me. You know, it's like, that's just the way it is. And to maintain my happiness, because there's a maintenance process to this too, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I need to acknowledge things and let them go because they're not important. You know, what I consider to be important, what my intentions are what is important. My priorities are important to me. What, you know, asshole number 13, you know, commenting on my blog says to me is not important to me.
I like that we have at least 13
assholes.
assholes.
Yeah. Well, it's important. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I think that's an important thing to say.
Right.
You know, people love tearing down happy people.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such an important concept to understand and embrace and know that you are going to be
Good.
You know, that you are, you know.
And because we have such poor definitions, you know, going all the way back to the beginning of the show, we have such a bad definition for happiness, it's hard to defend ourselves. Mm-hmm. You know, it's hard to...
And it's not, I mean, you don't have to defend yourself about being happy.
I'm using defend myself as in, you know, I guess not be affected by... Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, by the way, you know, by people saying, oh, you can't be happy.
Right.
You know, because it's like, oh, yes, I am too happy.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like.
Protecting yourself.
Right. Mm-hmm.
More protecting yourself, you know, polishing that shield a little bit. I mean, I know for me, my parents are, you know, my parents are just these big worry warts, you know, and that's what they do. And for everything is that, are you taking care of this? Or, oh my God, are you worried about this? You know, everything is that. Mm-hmm. You know, and I don't know how much of that has to do with them being Latin, how much of that has to do with them being older, how much of that has to do with them being mentally ill. I mean, you know, at this point, I'm going to go with number 3 on this one. Because some of it is just so incredibly ridiculous. You know, the need to be anxious, you know, and the funny thing is that, you know, we could say things to them, my sister and I, who are both therapists, we say things to them and we try to coach them in different directions and different ways of being. And then they just, you know, kind of distract, you know, oh, look over here. I didn't say that. And well, my mother's the distraction queen and my dad is like, you know, bluster man, you know, he peacocks on us and well, I know better, you know, and then of course the favorite line is, what is it? The devil isn't wise because he's the devil, it's because he's old. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yeah. In other words, my dad's the devil.
Right. And he's old.
And he's old. But, you know, like, well, we have to understand what wisdom is. And apparently wisdom is you should worry about everything because the world's out to fuck you. Mm-hmm. Just know. Right. I gave you the answer to life. And that is really my parents' philosophy in life. And I think that if we're going to leave on any topic is the idea of what we're going to be talking about next week
Mm-hmm.
is defining your core values. And in fact, all next week we're going to be talking about that on the blog and writing about core values and how important it is to hone and be clear on what your core values
Mm-hmm.
are. Just a little sneak peeking on that. We're not raised in a vacuum.
Right.
We tend to take our parents' core values.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, of course, they're the people who raised us. There are caregivers. There are examples, or role models, and we take a lot of their core values and make them our own. We like to think we're individuals. We're really not.
Mm-hmm.
We're as unique as everybody else is.
Yeah, that's right.
But we start separating at some point, and this is what we call differentiation in the marriage and family field, and that's very important. And that's when we start prioritizing
Mm-hmm.
those core values, and that might be different than theirs. They
Right.
could have the same core values, but the priority of those core values,
Will change.
would change. It's like, it's very possible. Let's say that one of your core values, one of the most important things to you, is your integrity. And it could be very well possible that your parents didn't have that as a core value,
Mm-hmm.
and were just a bunch of liars.
Mm-hmm.
Or, had screw them before they screw you kind of philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
That's very possible. So, what I'm saying with the point of this is that there will be, defining those is really going to give you an idea of why you have issues with certain people.
Right.
Okay? Specifically your family.
Mm-hmm.
Because, your siblings, you're all very different because of how you prioritize those core values. And getting that clear
Mm-hmm.
is going to help.
Right. Being that the core values are that internal thing in you that you use as your compass.
Right.
So if we're talking about getting to happiness, being happy, maintaining that state of happiness, then it's at the core values that are really, they're going to be your kind of your what do you call that? Your litmus test.
Mm-hmm. Your compass,
Your
definitely.
compass.
It's the way that you do things.
Mm.
And this is the beginning. Now, it's like you're here at the launch of the beginning of the happiness series.
Right.
From here on out, we're going to create a survey that we're going to put on Mingle Media, and we're going to put on our blog
Mm-hmm.
to start defining on really what happiness is. And then from there, we're going to start getting you into that idea of what do you need
Mm-hmm.
to create that habit of happy and maintain that, so that when you and your significant other get together
Right.
and do these things, then you'll be happy. And this is something that you pass along to your kids too.
Mm-hmm.
This is the cool thing. We don't teach our kids to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
We teach our kids that being happy is something done with accomplishment. You can only be happy in celebration. Celebration is always, questionable because there's probably booze and other things going on.
Right.
How are you teaching your kid to be happy?
Mm.
So wouldn't it be great to be able to teach them healthy happiness?
Mm-hmm. That's what we're going for.
And that pulling the joy out of everything, finding the happiness in sad, finding the happiness in grief.
Right.
The powerful lessons in grief and happiness
Mm-hmm.
and sadness are life transforming.
Right. Anchoring happiness in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Recognizing it.
Yeah.
That's another good one.
Yes.
Recognizing it.
That's very important.
Yeah.
And maintaining it and just
Yes.
keeping it and and not letting anything take you down. Just enjoy. I don't know how else to put it, but it's like, people who know us that, we're a happy couple.
Right.
Because we don't really let things affect us that much, and that if you would have met us 10 years ago, probably wouldn't have been that happy.
No.
Not the way we are now.
Oh yeah. Well, it's evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we were
it's
happy, but
different,
we
right.
weren't this kind of giddy, stupid
Yes,
happy.
Right. We got
See?
a little happy under our belt. You
Yeah.
know? and we need to say goodbye.
Okay.
And with that,
Yeah, he's got a happy under his belt.
Giddy is good.
It is good.
Thank you, everybody,
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you next week.
Definitely.